Well, hey, what is going on, Liberty fans? My name is Nick Kirby, and welcome to the Sea of Red Live podcast. This is the basketball edition. Show is presented, as always, by Jason Porter Real Estate, covering all of your residential and commercial real estate needs in the Lynchburg area and beyond, as well as IronClad Coffee. I am joined once again by my co-host, the Dr. Will Matthews. Wild week for Liberty basketball. Some highs, some lows. Will, how we feeling?
Nervous. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm always feeling good. Lots of good stuff going on. And speaking of good stuff going on, we have got a big-time show tonight. Darius McGhee, never heard of him. He's going to be joining us here in a few minutes. And really excited as well. We got Grant Leonard, the head coach of Queens. I reached out to Queens because we play him twice this week. Wanted to get someone, and they sent their head coach. How about that? So, pretty cool. We're excited about to have Grant on a little later on. And then, of course, AC Red founder Jon Manson. He's also going to be on our interview with Darius. Going to ask Darius some questions as well. So really looking forward to that. Before we get started, if you are watching on YouTube, please take 2 seconds. Hit that like button and subscribe while you are there. We really do appreciate it. It really helps us continue to grow the show and bring you Great Flames content, hopefully. And then the Sea Red podcast also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So check that out as well. I want to tell you also real quick, tomorrow night, the Liberty basketball show is going to be at Scoreboards in Lynchburg from 6 to 7. How about this, Will? Free appetizer per table and 50-cent wings. You can't beat that. Richie McKay speaking. Free appetizers. I mean, what better than that? Well, you're going to be making that trip up on a Monday night. Was it about 2 hours away now?
Oh, man. About 4 hours for me. I wish I could be there just to see Coach McKay, but those appetizers are sounding good.
Yeah, I'm thinking about making the 8-hour commute tomorrow. We'll have to see as well. A lot of great people here in the chat. I don't know this Chad guy. Sounds cool. Ray, what's up, man? Bailey, appreciate your support as always. Tim. Man, this is awesome. We're looking forward to it. All right, well, let's jump right into it before we get into all the good stuff. Let's just get the Band-Aid off. Kennesaw 88-81 winners over Liberty on Thursday night in the biggest game of the year in the ASUN. Darius McGhee was spectacular. 43 points, 8 for 14 for 3, 9 of 10 from the line. Will, if you would have told me that Darius McGhee would have put up that stat line, would you have thought we won by 20 or 30?
Yeah, maybe split the difference, go 25. And that was a much higher scoring game than what we were thinking originally.
Yeah, I was way off. I think I said, I think it's going to be like a 60-61 slugfest. Was anything from that but that. Credit to Kennesaw, man. They played their tails off. Great atmosphere. Did have the same atmosphere on Saturday against Queens, but that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, Kennesaw just, at the end of the game, they could not miss. Definitely with some holes in Liberty's defense. Some of it was also really great playmaking from Kennesaw State. Usually when you have a 24-8 run over the final 5-11 of a game, it's a combination of both. It's not usually just bad defense or just great offense. Usually there's a little bit of both in that. But the good news is Liberty came back on Saturday and beat Jacksonville State 79-55. Outscored Jacksonville State by 58 points in the 2 games this year. And our fellows from Queens, who we're going to get really familiar with, did Liberty a massive solid and went on the road and won at Kennesaw in a Will, was that like the most just set up for a letdown game? Like you could kind of, I didn't think they would lose, but I definitely thought that there'd be a letdown.
Yeah, I was a little shocked to see that. Honestly, I think I just put Twitter on and I saw the first thing I saw was your tweet saying down goes Kennesaw. So I was shocked, but I mean, man, Queens is pretty good. And that's why I said at the top of the show, I'm nervous because we've got Queens next and they might be feeling it.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust some of these KenPom numbers that say Liberty has a 92% chance at home after they just went and won at Kennesaw. Might be something a little off there, Mr. Pomeroy. You might want to look at that. But But yeah, but this was a great game. And Darius McGhee, how about the week? How about the week that he had? I think it was 70 points. I think I just saw Liberty Twitter tweet that out. 13 for 24 in 2 games from 3-point. I just this is just ridiculous what he's been doing. And man, he's it seems like he's getting primed for the big ASUN tournament starting here week from tomorrow.
Yeah, he did all right, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but this was kind of a chippy game too. I definitely want to ask
Oh yeah,
about that. What a wild game. And I don't
not quite as wild as the Austin P game, North Florida, to end that one.
There's some bad blood in the water. There's something. Yeah.
But yeah, Jacksonville State looked like they just did not care who they fouled or how they fouled anybody. And I really thought like the coach didn't even look like he really cared. I feel like if it was Liberty guys, like McKay would have been in somebody's face or put a stop to it, because that's just not Liberty's brand of basketball. Jacksonville State, it felt like, all right, well, our season's done, so let's just go tackle a bunch of people.
Yeah, it was interesting, but Jacksonville State have been playing really, really well.
Yeah.
I tweeted a lot of it before the game. You looked at some of their numbers over the last 7 games. I like to use Torvik, said they were the 4th best team in the conference. So they came in playing well. They coming with I thought a lot of confidence, and Liberty just completely dominated this game from start to finish. So that was great to see. All right, here's where we are in the ASUN. Liberty, Kennesaw tied up top. Kennesaw, of course, holds the tiebreaker. You can kind of see it all the way down. We'll get to this a little bit more later on. Here's the bracket. If the tournament started today, Liberty would be lined up with the winner of Bellarmine or North Florida. But I say all this to point this out, and this is a whole lot of math, and I don't expect you to read through all this. But KenPom projects that Kennesaw is going to lose one of their next 2 games. They give them a 55% chance of winning at North Alabama, who is as hot as anyone in the ASUN right now. And they give them a 77% chance of winning against us at Central Arkansas. Both those games on the road, but KenPom says one of those 2 games they're going to lose. Projecting Liberty will win both of theirs, 79 and 92. I mean, obviously the games have to be played. Liberty was favored against Kennesaw on the road, but Kennesaw gave Liberty some life. Well, I'll be interested to see what this week plays out. And man, there's just so much up in the air, the whole conference, top to bottom.
Yeah. Kennesaw State, you wonder if that letdown game is really going to, I don't know, light a fire under them to finish well. That UNA team is going to be a tough team for them. I think they match up really well with Kennesaw State. Central Arkansas, not so sure about that one. Just hoping North Alabama can take care of it. And then, gosh, if we could beat Queens twice, what a great ending to the season that would be.
Yeah, Wednesday night is going to be huge. Liberty at Queens, so obviously that you would assume would be the tougher of the 2 games on the road. And then Kennesaw's toughest games on Wednesday. So we might, at the end of Wednesday night, have a pretty good idea how things are going to turn out, or maybe absolutely no idea whatsoever, because that's kind of been the year it's been. But that has certainly made it fun. Well, how about we bring in the all-time leading scorer in Liberty basketball history? You think we should do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Remember the name Darius McGhee. McGhee, one more time. He's not only a mid-major star, he's a preseason All-American nominee.
Quick trigger, McGhee got it. Wow. He hangs. McGhee got a hand on it. Pulls up deep 3. That goes down. He steps back, fades away again. McGhee again driving, lost it momentarily. Scoop.
All right, joined now by Liberty senior guard Darius McGhee. Darius, wild week for you guys. Have you guys got back and recovered? Felt like a really emotional 2 games on that road trip.
For sure. We got a little recovery stuff in today, and guys have pretty much just been trying to get our bodies as close to 100% as possible heading into next week. So.
We're joined by Jon Manson as well. Jon, why don't you jump in and give us some questions for Darius tonight?
Sure. Good to see you guys tonight. Darius, thanks for joining us. A lot of fun. Been a lot of fun watching you the last few years, and we're all looking – I started to say looking forward to senior night, but I'm not sure we're necessarily looking forward to it. We don't want to see your career come to an end at Liberty, but we'll always be cheering for you wherever you're at, wherever you're playing. But has it kind of sunk into you a little bit the last 24 hours or so that – you got your last regular season home game at least coming up at Liberty Arena on Friday?
Not necessarily. I mean, as a competitor, it seemed like the season just flew by just because you're so focused throughout the weeks just preparing for the 2 games every week that we have. But, I mean, Blake Preston, who has been here for 5 years with me, he makes sure to let me know, like, hey, D, we only got so many more of these. Or like last game against Jack State, he said, wow, it's really only two more of these before the postseason, right before tip-off. So unless it's moments like that, I typically don't really pay too much attention.
Hey, Darius, being a North Carolina native from the great city of Roxborough, where there's probably 3 inches of snow on the ground right now. No, I don't know. It just snows a lot in Roxborough. Do your folks back home, like I know your family, of course, like they're pay attention to your games. If they're not there, they're watching. But like, are there other people in your hometown, like maybe people you went to school with, or like people in your neighborhood that like really know, like, like your game and are paying attention to Liberty basketball because of all the success that you've had?
For sure. I mean, I've always felt the love and support from my hometown, even since I was a freshman. So, I mean, it's always been in a big scale, honestly. Like, I get text messages and social media notifications from people I, like you said, went to school with, family members, of course, former coaches. So I've always felt the love and support. So they time in and they watch every single game, I think. So it's super dope to have, honestly.
Darius, that game on Saturday against Jacksonville State felt very intense, very physical. Do you think that was maybe the most physical game of the year or up there?
I mean, that's college basketball. Every game is physical in its own way. I mean, I don't think it's subpar a lot of other games. I think it's just another basketball game. The physicality just might have showed in a very direct way in that game, but I don't think that it's been significantly different than any other ones.
Darius, I'm wondering who's one of your Liberty teammates, not on the current team, but one of your former teammates that you text with the most, and it can't be Mayo or Cuff or Zach because they're all on staff. So who's one of your former Liberty teammates you text the most?
I'll probably say Titus Dean, who was a walk-on for us. Me and Titus actually were roommates when we first got to campus, so we have an unbelievable relationship. We were roommates for not just my freshman year on campus, but 2 years off campus. So our relationship is super, super deep. Whether it's music, his music career, he's always like sending me songs to kind of let me pre-listen to them before they come out. Or we're just talking basketball, relationships. Like that's definitely all of them are my brothers, but we definitely have a very deep relationship. So probably definitely Titus Dean.
Yeah, and I was going to ask too about some of your former teammates because we were watching the game on TV the other night, and they showed just a real quick shot of Elijah Cuffey like yelling something as you guys were trying to get back on defense. And what is it like having them as guys that are on staff now, some of your former teammates? And then I'm gonna follow up to John's question: who on the team right now will you be texting next year when you're not on the team?
It's definitely a unique situation that we are afforded to have those two guys, Mayo and Cuff, on staff. And I think it's super easy to listen to them. Like, it's super easy for them to grab our ear just from the fact that they still get out there and play. But being former teammates of theirs, you respect their game first and foremost. So their opinion holds a lot of weight to you. So those guys always give great advice in the mix of games, whether it be life stuff, you sit down at dinner, like you'll get a text message after practice like, hey, let's go to such and such and grab dinner just to talk, get away from basketball a little bit. So I think they add a very unique like blessing to our family, to our program. And I'll probably be texting all the guys because they're all very silly. They're all characters in their own way, and I love each one of them. But probably CP, probably be who I text the most, just because I always want to help him, especially just because we relate in so many different ways the most I can. So.
Darius, was looking through some of your numbers this year. Two things really have stood out for me that have maybe made you, obviously were the player of the year last year, so you already were pretty good. But I think have maybe taken you a little bit to the next level is your turnover rate, especially in conference play. It seems like it's really improved. Would you attribute that a lot to Colin Porter? Maybe taking the ball a little bit more and the ball handling responsibilities from you?
Absolutely. And he's done a great job this season. Like, he just makes the game so much easier. It's almost like having two Kyle Rose on the floor. And I also think it's a little bit of just like life. When you experience things, you're able to kind of prepare yourself for just in case those situations happen again. So last year I kind of used that. Like, I had to just kind of get through the fire and get through it the best way I could. So obviously now in year 2, I'm better prepared for those similar situations, similar schemes that teams ran last year. So I think all of that together is kind of what shot the turnover rate down, which I'm pretty sure we're all very excited to see go down.
Darius, despite the loss Thursday night, it was a lot of fun to be down there and, watch you go off for 43. Just one of the best performances I've ever seen you have. And you that's saying something because you've had a lot. But as you kind of think back over your time at Liberty, who's the one teammate? And again, I know you can get your shot off against anybody, but who's the one teammate when you guys are playing pickup in the summer or whatever? Who's the one teammate over the last 5 years that's been the toughest to get your shot off against?
All of them. They're all very different. So y'all gotta. It's almost like you gotta look to attack each one differently. From when I first got here, it was Lavelle, Georgie a little bit, Cuff of course. Then it was just strictly Cuff. Then you got Isaiah and Shiloh in the mix. Now you got JV in the mix. They're all so different defenders, and they position themselves very differently on certain things. So, I always tell them all the time, I get my scoring ability from playing against those guys. The credit goes to them. In a way, I guess I'm sharpening their defensive skills when they have to guard smaller guards, and playing against their length and athleticism, it definitely puts me in a box. So it definitely makes me figure out how to get done. So in game situations, I'm best prepared. But all of those guys are a handful for sure.
It looks like you guys really turned the page from that Kennesaw State game against Jacksonville State. Is it something, when you have a loss like that to an important game, is it something that you really flush and turn the page, or is it something that you kind of hold on to knowing that you could have another opportunity to play them in a more meaningful game down the road?
A little mixture of both, but it's a very similar feeling to losing any other game. It isn't like your core identity needs to be flipped. It's a lot of minor adjustments. So you look at that game, we had that game put away. They did a great job and made us pay for our lack of execution on both ends and came back and won the game. So you understand that it's minor adjustments, so therefore that way it's not that deflating of a loss, even though it does seem like there's big stakes around the game. So it definitely helped us turn the page as quickly just because of the perspective we had on the game.
Darius, I know that you're a team first guy and you're probably the most humble superstar in the country. But I was looking at some numbers. You on KenPom, you are now in the top 10 for their Player of the Year standings. And if you look at some of the names on this list, some of the top players in the country, and there hasn't been a player from a small conference on this list since 2016. What does it mean to you to be kind of mentioned with some of these guys?
I mean, it's definitely an honor. You look at the list, there's a ton of talent on there, and just to understand that the work that you put in and the beauty of collaborating with those in your program, collaborating with my teammates, collaborating with my coaches, is this has been the byproduct of it. So I think that's one thing that I'm super grateful for first. But you would have told me 4 years ago that I'd be on a list with the caliber of these guys, and I probably wouldn't have thought that.
So Darius, as you kind of come to the end of your Liberty career, what's something that you'll take with you? What's something that kind of sticks out the most of your time at Liberty, and something that you'll take with you for the rest of your life?
The power of unconditional love. Like, when you've been in a program like this for 5 years and you experience that day in and day out, I think it's the only way you can allow for true growth in a person. And I would probably say the power of collaborating. Like I just said, to me, life is a collaboration. No one's the same. So the ability to relate and continue to enhance character in one, not just yourself, is what's going to move the ball forward for not just you, but the world. So I'll probably say those two things.
That was deep. Put that on a shirt, John.
There you
go. So Darius, 2 games to end the season, kind of a different way of playing a team back to back. What's your thoughts on having to play Queens Wednesday in Charlotte, then coming back to Lynchburg to play them on Friday? Is that kind of an interesting way to end the year?
A little bit, but at the end of the day, it's still the same. Like, you still got to prepare for the first game, take the first game for the first game, put yourself in the best possible position to be successful the first night. And after that game finished, then you can worry about what the small tweaks are to help you be successful for the next. So, like, it's a little weird just because you play the same team back to back, but the process is still the same.
I feel like that COVID year might have kind of helped you. I know it's a little different traveling, but maybe got a little bit of experience with that.
Absolutely.
All right, one last question for you, Darius. I know you guys take this one game at a time, and we all appreciate that. But what would it mean to you to get Liberty back to the NCAA tournament in your last year?
That's obviously a goal of ours, and it would be spectacular to, not from my standpoint, like for it to be closure for my career or anything, but last year I kind of felt disappointed just because that freshman class didn't have a chance to experience it. So to be able to be a part of a team and help that sophomore class and freshman class experience that and hopefully continue that on. So I think that's probably would be the exciting part for me.
Well, Darius, thank you so much for taking some time to come on and join us. It has been an absolute joy to watch your career from freshman to now, and your growth and how humble you've been throughout it all. So we really do appreciate it, and best of luck for the rest of the way.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Darius. All right. That was our guy, Darius McGhee. John, you gotta put this into words. What does Darius just mean to this program and everything?
Man, what a stud. Like, it's been so much fun watching him, really grow up. You think about the last, 5 years he'd been here. When he come in as a freshman, I guess he was about 18 years old or so. And then to see him now, I mean, you listen to him there. I mean, he's so mature, so well-spoken and humble, as you alluded to there, Nick. And it's so much fun. I mean, this is a guy that just dropped 43 points in the biggest game of the regular season for the Flames to this point. And for him to do that, and then after the game, you ask him about it, and he deflects and doesn't want to talk about himself. He wants to talk about the team and what they didn't do, what he didn't do to get the job done. And it's been so much fun to watch his career. And who would have thought that 5 years ago when he came in, 5'9" guard from little known Roxborough, North Carolina, and here he is as, the greatest Liberty basketball player of all time. It's been a remarkable journey, and, we've seen lots of highs during his career. And that's one thing I was thinking about this week is he's really, taken, if you go back to when he came in as a freshman, Liberty was just entering the ASUN and hadn't been to the NCAA tournament since 2013. And now as he kind of exits stage right here in a few weeks, this program is so much further along, primarily due to him and others, right? I mean, obviously you can't not talk about, Caleb Holmesley and Georgie Pacheco-Ortiz, Maya Baxbarrel, Scotty James, et cetera, Lavelle Cabell. Could go on and on and on, Ryan Kimwright, all those guys. But now Liberty is expected to win the championship, expected to go to the NCAA tournament. And if you think back to last year when the team was unable to get the job done, how disappointing, how deflating, how demoralizing that felt. But prior to Darius getting on campus, that's what happened every year. So the program's grown leaps and bounds during his 5 years on campus.
Yeah, John, and he stayed when he didn't have to. After last year, I mean, he could have used his last year of eligibility, I mean, at any school in the country, but he decided to stay at Liberty and go back to the tournament with us.
I've said it before, that the 2020 season felt like a curse, but we got an extra year of Darius out of it. So who knows what happens the rest of this way? We could look back and be like, oh, wow, that was the way it was meant to be. John, I know a lot of people kind of see Ken Palm Player of the Year and they don't really think much of it. But as someone who looks at this a lot, it is so difficult for a player in the ASUN to get on a list like this because they're measuring efficiency. This isn't, just how this is, the shots and the percentage and every piece that goes into it. Could you even imagine 10 years ago seeing a Liberty player on a list like this?
I mean, I couldn't have imagined it, 3 years ago, probably. I mean, it's really just crazy to see what Darius has been able to do. And not only what he's been able to do, but he's done it with such a good group around him. And it feels like there's the other night against Kennesaw, I mean, how many times last year did he have games like that? And, he hasn't really done that a lot this year. I mean, he'll get his 18, his 20, and you'll look up and be like, it felt like he hasn't even hardly scored and he's got 22. And that's, right around what he's averaging, 21, 22 points a game. So, he's been incredibly efficient. But really what's made this team, kind of take that next gear from last year to this year and kind of be in that realm of a top 50 national team is what he's done with his team, with his teammates. You talk about his efficiency numbers, his assist to turnover rate, his turnover rate being down so much from last year, which I know is something that he focused on and concentrated on. But I mean, the growth we've seen from Kyle Rode and so many others on this team, Colin Porter. I mean, you really can't overstate his impact on this team this year. I know he had a disappointing night, Thursday night at Kennesaw State, but one thing I know about Colin, I know this show is kind of more towards Darius and about him, but one thing about Colin is he does not back down from a challenge. So I know he'll learn a lot from that game, from those last few minutes and how poorly he played. And he'll learn a lot from it. And I'm not saying he'll never play like that ever again, but if he's in that situation once again, then I don't doubt that he'll be able to get the job done. And but anyways, yeah, I mean, it's amazing that Darius is even sniffing a top 10 player list. And I really hope he gets the recognition he deserves nationally at the end of the season. I mean, he should be on an All-American list somewhere at the end of the year, if not several.
Yeah, I think they have 3 teams. He should. There's no question he should at least be on one of those teams. On Colin Porter, I thought Porter really responded with a really great game at Jacksonville State. One of the things that's most impressive about him is there'll be times where he'll drive to the rim and he'll get rejected, his size. But it doesn't, like, a lot of players we'd see would be timid after that. Like, they'll just do it the next play, or I thought he really did respond with the really, really good performance. And I mean, I think there's no other explanation for why the turnover rate is completely flipped. And Darius is 9th in the conference right now in turnover rate. And that was that was his one flaw last year, and he has the 9th best. So that's really impressive. Let's talk a little bit, John, while we got you, about the ASUN and this race. Did you think Kennesaw had any chance of losing on Saturday? I mean, it was like a classic letdown spot, but man, kind of given Liberty life.
No, I really didn't. I mean, I had, been gone to Kennesaw Thursday and most of the day Friday. So I reserved the better part of Saturday as family time. So we were out running errands, doing things and with the family. And of course, I check the scores and I see some chatter on Twitter like, oh, look at this. But I mean, Kennesaw, that's been them all year, is playing in these close games. And then they find a way at the end to win, or even they'll fall behind and they find a way to come back and win like they did against Liberty last week. And, I know Queens has the ability to win, and I wouldn't be shocked if Queens, stole one this week against Liberty. But for them to go into the KSU Convocation Center and win a game there is just incredible. But especially what I saw in person Thursday night, that place was rowdy and rocking, and I'm sure it was something that a letdown was to be expected from the Owls, but I didn't think that they would lose. And now, you're sitting here and the two teams are tied once again. And we'll have to see how this week shakes out and see if, Liberty can gain another game on them to get the best of that tiebreaker.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Queens, let's go ahead and bring on Queens' head coach here in just a second after we pay a quick word to our sponsor, Jason Porter.
Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jason Porter. I'm with Legacy Realty and Development, and it's been a great partnership here with Sea of Red lately. I was with Liberty Athletics as the Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, so took care of all of the healthcare needs and coordinated that with a fantastic staff at Liberty in the athletic department, of course, for about 5 or 6 years, and then moved into real estate full-time and with Legacy Realty and Development. And it's just been a great pleasure to continue to stay connected with my Liberty University family and the athletics family as well. I've been enjoying serving them. A lot of the graduate assistants and some of the staff that I hired has come back now and has been using me for residential services, which I really appreciate. But certainly do residential real estate as far as buying and selling of homes, of course. And then also we have a strong commercial presence as well. So commercial real estate, obviously a very, very different animal than is residential. But whether it's buying and selling commercial properties or just the leasing of properties, we can help with that as well. So it's been a great opportunity to service our commercial clients as well. And then certainly on the investment front too, a number of folks who have discovered the power of passive income through real estate and investing in real estate with rental properties or fix and flips, those kind of things. And so great joy to serve my clients in that capacity as well. The other thing that I would add too is just a very, very full Rolodex at this point of contractors and subs and just different professional contacts that I've made through the years. So if I can ever provide any of those folks to you and all of a sudden you need a plumber or an electrician or a contractor to build your deck, whatever, I'd certainly be glad to give you access to that Rolodex and those references as well. Because a lot of times it's not exactly who you know, it's who you know that knows how to do the job well. And so I would be glad to provide those services for you as well. So love Flames Nation, love taking care of my Liberty family. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, my contact information is all right here on the screen. And I would love to be a service to you and yours. Thanks so much.
All right, we are joined now by Queens head coach Grant Leonard. Grant, thank you so much for taking some time to join us tonight.
How are you guys? Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off, congrats on the great first season in the ASUN. You guys are just coming off a huge win against Kennesaw State on the road. What was that win like for you and your program on Saturday?
Obviously, it was vindicating for our guys. We've been really banged up. We still are. And just for them to be able to battle through that adversity and get that win on the road, I'm really happy for our guys and a testament to their character.
Hey, Coach. At the beginning of the season, the ASUN did like a basketball preview show, and you had the preseason poll posted up behind you in the locker room. And I saw that, and I was like, man, that's what I'm talking about. I think I'm going to be a Queens fan from now on. But what does it mean to you to kind of just be in the ASUN this year and have so much success after in the media poll and the coaches poll? A lot of folks faded Queens coming up to the ASUN.
Well, I'll be honest, we're coming off a 30-4 season and returned most of our team. We had an All-American that left and went to Murray State. But for the most of the part, the crux and core of our team we returned. And, most of those guys have never really lost, not in high school and if it may be junior college or even college. So for them to be picked last was offensive to them. And I applaud our guys for fighting through it, despite all the injuries and everything. And I can just say this, we're not a last place team. I know that for sure.
Well, Coach, for Liberty fans who have never seen you before, we're gonna get a great taste of Queens with 2 games back to back to end the season. Kind of a wild way to end the season. I know you guys play a faster tempo, but tell Liberty fans a little bit about what to expect out of Queens.
First of all, I'd say first thing is we're going to battle. I think that's how everyone would describe us. We're a little undersized, especially since the leading rebounder in the league is out for the rest of the year. But if you look at every position, for the most part, we're a couple inches and a couple pounds lighter or shorter than most teams. But yet we still do a great job on the glass, and our guys are just going to battle. Now, because we're smaller, we're going to spread teams out, and we're going to try and be aggressive while we spread them out. And that's pretty much how we play, is we attack downhill all game.
Is it kind of the mentality for you and your coaching staff and the players as well? I mean, I know you guys have a lot to play for with the tournament coming up, but with Kennesaw and Liberty being tied, is there like a little bit of play a spoiler mentality to kind of just create chaos at the top of the standings there? Does that enter your mind?
It really doesn't, because it doesn't matter who we play. It's just the pride.
Yeah.
Pride that our guys play with. And we are playing, trying to get in the conference tournament and conference tournament seeding. But for the most part, our guys just don't want to lose ever. So they're going to battle every single play, just trying to win that play. And that's how our guys really compete on a play-by-play basis.
Talk to us a little bit about Kenny Dye. He's had just a fantastic season. He absolutely should be first team all ASUN. Tell us a little bit about him and what he means to your program. Is he a true senior? Is this his last year, or could he come back next year?
No, this is it. This is the farewell tour for him. And he starting for us 2018-19. And it was Darius McGhee's first year too. And their first college game was a scrimmage against each other. How about that? And that was obviously when we were Division II. And but remember, because Darius wasn't even on our scouting report, and he lit us up. Hit a bunch of threes in the first half. It was a really tight contest. And Coach, I don't know if you guys know this, but Coach McKay's first college job ever was at Queens. He worked for Dale Lair. So Coach McKay is a friend, a mentor. He has given me a bunch of kind words over the years. But when I first got the job and we transitioned, he was really thoughtful, and I appreciate his kindness and mentorship over the years. But this game means a lot. Kenny Dye is amazing. He's amazing to coach. His character, his overall body of work. He doesn't wow you with wow plays. He just whittles you down play by play, like a surgeon. And truly great career. He broke our all-time scoring record this past week on Thursday. He's 11 assists away from being our all-time leading assist guy. He's got the most starts, the most games played, the most wins, the second most steals. I mean, the accolades are truly amazing.
Yeah, as a longtime Liberty fan, guys like Kenny Dye scare me a little bit. But is there any under the radar guys on your team that maybe have developed a little bit quicker than you thought they would, and maybe had more of an impact this year than maybe even you guys foresaw as a staff?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think AJ McKee was going to be scoring 18 points a game in league, and he's done a really good job. I mean, he's a sophomore guard from Charlotte, but he's really developed as a scorer. In high school, he only averaged 10 points a game. He was on a state championship team, did a great job in high school, but he's really developed into a really, really efficient scorer, and I've been really proud of him. And then BJ McLaurin has also, through Gavin Rain's absence, really come in as a double-digit scorer since Gavin's been hurt, and really proud of the progress he's made, not just offensively, but defensively on the glass as well.
Coach, outside of maybe the game on Saturday is, such a big win for you, what was maybe one of your other favorite moments of this season?
There's a lot, because I could go through, but obviously their first win versus Marshall in our first Division I game. Then, winning our first MTE in Jamaica was a big deal. Then we won 2 bye games this year, beating Bowling Green and East Tennessee State. All of those were huge for our program. And then our first ASUN game, coming back from down 16 in the second half, and really, versus Austin Peay and battling, that all those were honestly amazing, and then this win at Kennesaw was also great. Cause I don't think anyone at this point in the season, so injured and how banged up we are, thought we were going to win that game. And for our guys to battle through that on the road against the team that was in first place means a lot. Shows that our program is very capable.
How do you feel about these partner games kind of going back to back and one home, one and away?
Yeah, obviously it's our first year in the league. So as soon as we got in the league, a lot of people were complaining, not because we're in the league, but the schedule changed, how scheduling changed. And I feel terrible about that we kind of threw a wrench in that. And there was no balance to the schedule. Like, for instance, our first week, we play Austin P, and then we go on the road to Eastern Kentucky. That's like an 8-hour trip. Just to split that trip up, like, it was really hard on our guys, and Eastern Kentucky didn't play that Thursday. Then, for instance, I think that we have, you play 5 teams twice. Well, we got Eastern Kentucky, Kennesaw State, and Liberty twice. I don't think anyone else has the three top teams twice. And I'm not knocking it; just is what it is, because it was random happenstance for all that. But yeah, I think the league, as it progresses, will have to figure out balancing the schedule a little bit better.
Coach, obviously you guys are fighting to make the tournament. There's so many jumbled teams. It's been a fun year in the ASUN, and I think since Liberty's been by far the top, the league's been top to bottom. I think a lot of that is your guys' credit for that. Your non-conference schedule, you really helped the overall computer metrics and stuff like that. But what would it mean to your program to get into the ASUN tournament? Obviously, you guys aren't NCAA tournament eligible, but Bellarmine, we saw them win it last year, and it was still very, very special to them. What would that mean to you?
Chip in a chair, man. That's all you need. Once you're playing basketball, it's about making shots. And, so we would love to get in the tournament. It's something that's a standard of ours. We've never not made the conference tournament since I've been at Queens. It's my 10th year. So it's something that's really important to our guys. That being said, this is a foundational year, and we're just trying to build from here. And I think we have a strong foundation with what we've accomplished so far, winning 17 games in our first year in Division I. But going forward, our standards will not change because we've gone from Division II to Division I. We expect to be competing for championships.
What's your thoughts on the ASUN only letting 10 teams in? Because I think this is the first year. I think there was a couple years they had like 1 or 2 teams didn't make it. But to be honest, those teams probably didn't deserve it, where there's going to be a team left out right now would be Jacksonville. That's not a bad team. They're a competitive team night in and night out. Is it kind of like cool that it creates this really fun final week of the regular season that maybe would kind of be more of a grind and played out, or do you kind of also like hate it at the same time?
As a coach, I would prefer that all the teams make it, and that's just me. I think that all the teams are in the league, they're members, and they should get an opportunity to compete in the conference tournament. And I always say that the cream always rises to the top. So I know what they're trying to do as a league holistically is they're trying to protect the top seeds. They don't want to have lower seeds get into the tournament and bring the higher seeds net and RPI down for seeding for the NCAA tournament. And I get that. So it's important that our league shows strength in the NCAA tournament, that we get the best seed possible. But at the same time, I think a lot of these coaches deserve to be in the tournament, and I'd like to see all of them there. So hope that we can find a balance as the league progresses forward.
Yeah, Coach, and I don't know how you feel about this. I sort of have mixed feelings on the reseeding, and also have a little bit of mixed feelings on the home, the higher seed getting home court advantage. I always kind of like those tournaments that are at a neutral place and the crowd is kind of 50-50. But, your last kind of road trip coming up here is to Lynchburg in the new conference for you guys. Do you have a city or an arena that you've been to where you were like, man, this is a great atmosphere? And, what have your thoughts have been about just kind of the road trips in the ASUN?
First of all, the cities are all fantastic. Really glad that we're in the ASUN conference, traveling to great places. And I mean that, like when you're talking about going to Atlanta, you're talking about going to Jacksonville, you're talking about going to Louisville, you're talking about going to Nashville, you're talking about great American cities. And we're in Charlotte. And so I believe our institution chose to align with the ASUN because they wanted to be with other schools that were in major metropolitan areas. And so we're a proud member of the ASUN, and excited to go to Lynchburg. Been there before, scrimmaged there before, twice. Once when Dale Lair was the coach, and once when Richie was there. And so the facilities for Liberty are amazing. I expect an unbelievable environment Friday night. That being said, the best environment we played in so far this year is Kennesaw. They had a good crowd. The band was phenomenal, and they're in first place, so they were really rooting them on. I don't think it was quite the crowd they had versus Liberty, but it was really good. And but we had them quiet a lot of the game, so I was happy about that.
Yeah. Us too.
Yeah, well, thank you for that win. We all really appreciate it. Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. This was such a treat, and really looking forward to these two games this week. A lot on the line for both teams, and really just looking forward to the whole ASUN. I think this is going to be a really fun and fascinating final week. So thank you so much.
No, thank you guys for having me. Know this, Liberty is a class team. And like I said, Coach McKay is an unbelievable person, and I appreciate your guys' time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're going to have a quick word from other sponsor, IronClad Coffee, and we'll be right back.
Virginia's best and most flames-friendly coffee comes from IronClad Coffee Roasters. IronClad roasts and serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, but you can enjoy their crafted roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it'll be roasted to your order and shipped out directly to your doorstep.
Whenever you find yourself in the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. IronClad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and are pleased to sponsor these podcasts by Sea of Red. Hop on over to their website at www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.
Well, when we started this Vines Palm cast, did you think we'd have the greatest player in Liberty history and then the head coach of another team joining us on the same episode?
Yeah, he was incredible. I'm glad that they give me a new team to root for in the ASUN next year when we're out. So
yeah, we'll definitely. Hopefully, we can beat them twice this week, and then we'll promise we'll root for you. I would love to see. It's kind of. I was kind of looking at the math. I was like, I kind of want to see Queens get in. It's possible that Liberty could beat them twice, and they could still sneak in. It's. There's so many weird tiebreakers. I don't even want to go through them all. We did get a question I want to get to. Really appreciate this one from Jabari. Are you happy KSU is joining CUSA? Yeah, absolutely. I thought the atmosphere was great. I hope I don't butcher his name, but Rahim. I hope he stays there and continues to build that program up, because that was fun. That was, hey, look, it was a tough loss, but man, we want rivalries like that, right, Will?
Yeah, and that means that also we're going to be going, the coaching staff and the team, they're going to be going to Atlanta. So, any guys that they might be recruiting in that way, you get another chance to see them or have them come to the game. And so, I think it's a good market, for Liberty to compete in. It's a good market for Conference USA, and Kennesaw State is a rising program. They've had a decent football team over the last few years. Basketball is really picking up. They have a decent baseball team. So I think it's a good team for us to have, because we're also familiar with them as well.
Yeah. They're 133rd in the net. You want those kind of teams in your conference. They would fit right in with CUSA if they can continue at this level. Time will tell if they can, keep this up year after year after year. They're going to lose a lot of players in the next, year or two, but, and obviously they're not in CUSA next year. They have to wait a year. That team might dominate the ASUN next year. They may really, it'll be interesting. I think it'll be like a 3-horse race with Kennesaw, FGCU, and maybe even our friends at Queens.
Yeah. And, the state of Georgia is just dominated by UGA and Georgia Tech and the SEC, but I listened to quite a bit of sports radio coming out of Atlanta, and Kennesaw State's getting a lot of buzz and on some of those networks and things like that. So I would expect, an uptick in their recruiting as they move up as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kind of run back through this before we get to our picks of the week. No long shots. So we'll go a little longer, and I got some stuff I want to get off my chest. Not really get off my chest. I just I want
I'm
to
here
talk.
for you, Nick.
I want to talk ASUN basketball, man. This is what I live for. So here's the standings again. Just a quick primer. Let's look at the tournament as it stands right now. Obviously, Liberty still has a chance to catch Kennesaw. Or I mean, they've already caught Kennesaw, but actually to win the tiebreaker. Looks like, man, let's talk about North Alabama. Man, that is that. Okay, I'm going to ask you this. Would you rather play North Alabama or EKU? Right now.
I think I'd rather play I don't know. I think I'd probably rather play North Alabama.
Yeah, we just had, and the Liberty's had so much success against them, but I feel like it's almost like fool's gold because that team, man, they have been playing well. I think they're 7-1 in their last 8 games. They just beat EKU. EKU hadn't lost a home game since November. They won at EKU. Man, that is a dangerous team, and they're eligible this year, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So I mean, and this is their first year eligible too. So
yeah,
that's just
they want to taste it. Yeah,
yeah. I would love to see them get beat. It's just there's not an easy out this year. I look up and down. Stetson, they're a great offensive team. I know Liberty took care of them with ease, but I've watched a lot of their games this year, and I'm like, I don't know how Liberty beat them as by as much as we did. Even Queens fought a Gulf Coast at the 10 seed.
I got to tell you, Kennesaw State, they're probably looking at this bracket and thinking, oh, we might have to play Queens again. That might, put a little fear into them a little bit.
Yeah. Bellarmine, North Florida, though, I mean, honestly, that might be I don't know. You move up to the 1, but it could all change. Let's go through this week and kind of give you guys a primer of what to expect. So first off, the seeding tiebreaker, it's head-to-head. Then it's winning percentage in the clean 13. I mean, you talk about the wildest tiebreaker I've ever seen. Your last 13.
What we thought about clean 13.
Your last 13 games, with the exception of the away game with the team you played twice. So for Liberty, the game on Wednesday will not count in their last. This will be the last 13 games except for that game. That's the next. I don't know if that's actually going to come into effect, because if you look at kind of, I made a list here with like the notable head-to-heads. Most of them are 1-0 or 0-1 or 2-0. There's not a whole lot of 1-1s, which is the only way you would have a tiebreaker. But but let's look through it. So let's start with the battle for the 1 seed, Kennesaw and Liberty. Kennesaw's at North Alabama, and at Central Arkansas. Liberty at Queens versus Queens. I mean, I think Liberty's got a chance here. But I think we'll know Wednesday night. If Liberty doesn't get it flipped on Wednesday night, it's probably not going to happen. Is that where you're at too?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Unless something, unless Kennesaw State just blows out UNA and, if Liberty squeaks by Queens or something like that, is there a scenario where Kennesaw State kind of coasts through that last game at Central Arkansas and then it gets upset?
Yeah. Central Arkansas's last game of the season, they're not making the tournament. They're at home, senior night. I mean, I guess, weird things happen. I don't know. We'll see. And then it looks like the battle for the 3 is probably between Stetson and EKU. Stetson has the tiebreaker right now. Or do they? I don't. No, EKU is the tiebreaker. I think I have that backwards. Sorry about that. But EKU is the 3. Stetson's the 4. Stetson's at Austin P versus Austin P versus Lipscomb. EKU is a home against North Florida, and at Jacksonville. EKU is playing teams that have a lot more on the line than Stetson. So Stetson could I think, easily slide up to that number 2. In fact, they actually, if you look at the projected record of what Ken Palm says that they will to go ahead. So that's kind of something to watch. And then we talked about North Alabama. I don't see a way they're going to get up to the 4 because they had to pass 2 teams. And then let's kind of talk about Lipscomb's probably in the 7, but let's talk about the bottom here, because you have Bellarmine, who got a 1-point win on a last-second shot against Central Arkansas at home today. They were up like, I think, 6 points with like a minute and a half left and lost the lead. and one by one on a last second shot. It was a pretty wild finish. Thankful that I had the under in that game. But what do you think about this 7? So Bellarmine, they're at Jacksonville, they're at North Florida. They're playing two teams that are both trying to fight to get in. I don't think that they can fall down to the 11. I think that would be pretty tough. I don't know. What do you think about Florida Gulf Coast and Jacksonville? Florida Gulf Coast versus Lipscomb versus Austin Peay, Jacksonville versus Bellarmine versus EKU. Who would you give the advantage there?
I'm going to go Florida Gulf Coast. I think they've got enough talent where if they could find something and put it together. I don't know where they are as far as like, how injured they are, how banged up they are, or anything like that. But I feel like home against Lipscomb and then home against P puts them in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I feel like they've been in a good spot all year and just keep fumbling it. I don't really understand. And then honestly, I mean, Florida Gulf Coast and Jacksonville, I mean, if they both take care of business, I mean, look, let's be honest, Liberty is heavily favored in both of these games. I mean, we know Queens is dangerous. If Queens is going to get Liberty, it's going to be on Wednesday, right? Like they're not going to go into Liberty Arena. I don't think you're going to win on senior night.
No, not on Darius's last home game. I don't think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, Queens might honestly just end up being the odd man out. I mean, I guess if you're Queens, you're hoping, you're hoping that Florida Gulf Coast and you are tied because they have the tiebreaker with Florida Gulf Coast. But if they're tied with Jacksonville, they lose the tiebreaker. So,
yeah, Coach Leonard has me believing, man. After that interview, he's got me believing. It would not surprise me if Queens took that first one against Liberty, and stake their claim in the tournament. But he's got me believing right now after this. So I'm still a little nervous about that Wednesday game. Not so nervous about the Friday game. Best case scenario, Kennesaw State, they're spinning out of control right now. That's best case scenario.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to our picks here in just a second. A couple more things I want to go over. Here's Liberty's updated quad sheet. Florida Gulf Coast, they fell to a quad 4, so Liberty is now 3-3 in the quad 3 games. The Kennesaw loss was a quad 2 game. Well, did you think it's wild that Liberty lost to Kennesaw? And Liberty,
it's not that bad of a loss.
Well, and Liberty didn't move a single spot in KenPom or net, and Kennesaw actually lost spots after their split this week. Is that pretty wild?
That is wild. Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
KenPom and net have no emotions, folks. No emotions. And then again here, 79% is the odds for the road game, 92 at home. All right, well, let's get into the picks. No long shots this week. He is volunteering at a NASCAR event for sick children, I believe. I think that's what he's doing. But here's what we did last week. Hey, I had a 6-5 week. Need a miracle to finish 500, but that is the goal. Long shots took a commanding lead, four wins ahead of Jon after Jon's 4 and 6 struggled. Jon really just got off to a bad start, tried to bounce back, but it didn't happen. But let's get into our picks of the week. We'll kind of run through these here. Kansas at TCU. I'm taking TCU, man. Kansas, I don't trust that team at all right now, especially on the road. So I'm going with TCU just because of that. Will, just jump in if you want to jump in at any point. If not, we'll just kind of run through these. Marquette at Creighton. I'm definitely going with the home team in that matchup. This is one I want your thoughts on. I'm taking North Alabama. I think they're playing really well. I'm fascinated to see how Kennesaw responds after that loss on Saturday. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just kind of buying too much into the North Alabama hot streak and fading Kennesaw too quick. What's your thoughts on this game?
I'm going with the better record and Richie long shots on this one with Kennesaw. I think Kennesaw has a bounce back game after the after the hangover game.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope you're wrong for multiple reasons. But yeah, that'll be a fascinating one. Definitely a two-screen event on Wednesday night. Lipscomb at FGCU. I'm not picking FGCU for anything right now. I just cannot believe how bad they have played down the stretch. I still don't want them in the tournament because I still feel like that's a team that give them like a second life. Clean slate. They're dangerous, but I don't know. Would you pick Florida Gulf Coast in anything right now, Will?
It would be difficult to, for sure.
I mean, they won at USC. At USC.
Yeah.
They won a tournament against Northern Kentucky, Drexel, beat Georgia Southern on the road, beat Mercer, won at St. Bonaventure. Like, they had this incredible non-conference, and
something happened.
And they started 2-0, and they are 4-10 since. Just got swept by Stetson. I don't know what to make of that team. That is a wild season. I'm sure I would hate to be a Florida man. Could you imagine how brutal of a season that is? Get your expectations up that high, and then
whew,
that's tough.
Yeah, all of those guys were thinking this is our year.
Yeah. All right. Remember we were talking about, are they as good as Liberty? The beginning.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my strategy on Liberty Queens. I'm gonna play this exactly like we played the COVID season. You always faded Liberty on Friday. You always tailed Liberty on Saturday, right? Like
that's right.
It was a machine. Friday night was an underperformance. Saturday they bounced back and took care, and especially with it being on the road and at home. I know that we're just gonna skip down the second game. I know the second game's 16, and that's a lot of points. But I think Liberty wins on Wednesday, but I think it's close. I think it's probably 4 or 5 points is probably where I'd say. What would you put the are you kind of in that same boat?
Yeah, I don't see this one at Queens being the double-digit ASUN win. So I think, probably 6 or 7 points on that one is where I'd probably feel comfortable if I had money on it.
Just win this one, baby. Win. This is I don't care how ugly it is. Just find a way to get it done. And then Austin P at Stetson. Oh, I hate riding with P, and I also I feel like I'm gonna get bit with this because I don't think we've had any word. Austin P may have half their darn team suspended for this game too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's another thing. I don't know. North Florida, are they gonna have some players suspended as they're fighting for this last spot?
Yeah, I mean, North Florida initiated all of that. I didn't see all the games, so I don't know if there was any back and forth before that last foul happened. On that attempted dunk by Austin P, but North Florida definitely initiated that. But it'd be interesting to see who's out for that. I think you just said something though. I'm hate riding with P. I think that ought to be a t-shirt at aseaofred.com.
I hate riding with P. Oh, or if it's them, they could make their shirts ride with P.
Yeah.
All right, UCLA, Utah. I don't know why Chad is on the Utes. I don't see it, but hey, maybe Chad knows something. And I already talked about my Liberty Queen strategy. Texas at Baylor. I'm going with Baylor after they ripped my heart out on Saturday. At home. Baylor's such a weird team. I could go into a whole spiel about Baylor. They're like second in the country in offensive efficiency. And they do nothing good great offensively other than rebound. And I have no idea. I don't understand that. I need to talk to Lord Kempom about how that's possible. But that's another story. Will, I'm curious your thoughts on St. Mary's at Gonzaga. I know St. Mary's beat him in the first game. Is this one of the best matchups of the season?
This will be a really fun match. What time is this one on Saturday? Is this a late game?
I would assume so.
Yeah. I mean, I probably will not stay up enough to watch it, but I'll definitely be watching the highlights on SportsCenter the next day. Man, I've got Gonzaga by 10 here.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Like that.
I mean, I think it'll be a closer game, but I've got them by 10.
10 o'clock on Saturday night. Just a beautiful time. The kids hopefully into their REM cycle at that point. Oh, beautiful.
I'll be in my REM cycle at that point.
I'll just be getting started, baby. All right. And then we got a couple questions. We'll get to those in just a second. I love this interaction. People still watching us an hour and 6 minutes in. You guys are nuts, but I love it. And then Virginia, UNC, another just fantastic game. Tar Heels are a
trash.
A wild team. I just say at home, I'm taking them. Is that a bad pick?
I think so. I'm going Virginia.
All right, let's run through some questions here. Awesome question here, Liberty Sports Fan Podcast. Thank you for chiming in here. Let's run through like the home game scenario. And I'm sorry sometimes if I like just talk about this because I like live this every day. So sometimes I might jump through it a little bit more than people who don't live it. Liberty, I think Liberty's guaranteed a 2 seed. They're 2 games ahead of EKU. If EKU won both games and Liberty lost both games, maybe I don't understand the tiebreaker, but I'm pretty sure Liberty's locked into at least the 2 seed. So if you're the 2 seed, you are guaranteed your quarterfinal game to be at home. If you win that, you're guaranteed your semifinal game to be at home. And then if you win that, the championship game is on the road if you're facing the number 1 seed. If you face anyone else, it's at home. So that's another interesting thing is I think people just like, oh, Liberty lost home court advantage. Well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. If you run back through the last 3 years, the number 1 or number 2 seed that wasn't Liberty, they all lost before the championship. Jacksonville State last year lost. North Florida lost in 2020. They were the 2. Mm-hmm. We played Lipscomb. And I don't know who the other one was the other year, but they lost. So, like,
Lipscomb.
Was it
Lipscomb?
Who was the 2? The
year that we beat them, or the first year that we beat them.
Yeah,
they had to be the 1 seed.
No, who was the year? Who was the 2? The COVID year. I don't. The one we beat North Alabama in the game that didn't the game that didn't actually matter because we clinched in the quarterfinals. I don't know whoever North Alabama beat. That was again, I said. But like I said, 3 years in a row, the other team hasn't made it that far. So I think people don't realize like it's actually probably more like a 50-50 shot that Kennesaw actually makes it. And Liberty is not necessarily that much higher. Liberty is going to be higher because of their like metrics. But Liberty's chance to make the championship is probably only 60. So if if Kennesaw falls to the 2, there's a chance they can still host the championship because there's a chance Liberty could get knocked out before then. So,
I'm also okay. I prefer, a championship game if it is Kennesaw. Prefer for us to not play them and us be at home, but also don't feel too bad about playing Kennesaw on the road in a championship game. We've seen what their atmosphere is like. Might be a little bit more hype for a championship game on ESPN2 at 3:00 on a Sunday, but I feel like our guys have been there. They know that now. I feel pretty confident about that game.
Yeah, Liberty's never lost to a team twice in the ASUN. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good thing going for you. I would love for Liberty to get the 1 this week and then play Kennesaw in the championship.
Yeah,
that would be fun, and I would call it here. I think it's a Lipscomb 2020 type win. I think it's one of those games we think is going to be close, and then Liberty just comes out and wins it by 30.
I like it.
I'm saying it. I'm sticking to it. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This was a fun show. Thanks to Darius McGhee and Jon and Coach Leonard for joining us. Really enjoyed this one tonight. I'll be back next week to talk about the actual bracket, not probable brackets, we'll have KenPom probabilities. That'll make it in. But yeah, we'll be back. I think we got a really, really good guest to help us break down the ASUN tournament. So when we get that confirmed, we'll post it on all the socials and all that. But I think you're going to really enjoy this one as we break down the bracket, make some predictions, talk through the matchups, all that kind of fun stuff. Will, you got any other final thoughts tonight?
Phantom. Go Flames.
Phantom. Let's do it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Like on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, like the podcast, comment, do all the stuff. We love you. Go Flames.